Welcome to the Linebreak Rugby podcast. You've got your hosts, me, Sav. You've got Fred with me. Say hey, Fred.
Hey, Fred.
He said hey, Fred. Beautiful. And then we've also got Ed with us.
Hello.
There's Ed. He's just chilling in the background there. Right. We're going to talk about, I think it's going to be the title to this video, Austin Healey Small Man Complex.
Great title.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been discussion about whether we should have those sorts of titles or not, actually.
Yeah.
Whether it is pure clickbait or whether, in fact, he just does have the biggest small man complex anyone's ever seen.
It's very possible that he does. So, go on, Fred, talk to us about Austin Healey Small Man Complex.
Well, I'm guessing that you just made a compliment. If it's the biggest small man complex ever, he'll take that.
He's... I don't know what it is, but he just seems to always be yapping at the bit a little bit. I suppose it comes with the nature of his position when he played there, but you know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's something pointed out on Reddit is that Jason Robinson was about 2 or 3 inches shorter than Healey, and he was always, you know, humble and awesome and kind and cool and just generally a bit brilliant, and Healey's just a bit of a dick.
The thing with Jason Robson is I think he was assured in his abilities at rugby and he was very good. And I think Healey, you don't want to get too psychological about it because at the end of the day it's just another human being. But he's spent his life as a reserve backup sub at the top level, not necessarily at Leicester, but at the top level he was never the first name on the team sheet. So he's always been yapping at the bit a little bit.
Well, yeah, but he was still a Lions player.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. That's what I mean. I mean, he's a top player, but he was always the utility back. Yeah. But yeah.
He did get moved about because he sometimes played wing, he sometimes played scrum half, which is, I suppose, fairly unusual nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, wing and scrum half is not. Although Foden
was scrum half first before he went to fullback.
Francois Ohot. Or I've tried to pronounce it properly, but clearly failed. Yeah.
Hugard. Yeah, that bloke.
Hard.
For a Frenchman, your accent was all over the shop.
No, I tried. I tried my best. My best was terrible.
Your best is shit.
So was Healey's small man complex brought out by Haskell a little bit?
Well, he's standing, trying to be as tall as possible next to Delalio, and that's never going to happen, is it?
It's a great promo picture just for the BT panel in general, but it's when you look at it, you know, from above the knees, they all look. Haskell sitting down, Bayfield still a giant. Healey is, similar in height to Delalio, but then you see the bottom of the picture, and Healey is as far onto his tiptoes as he can possibly get.
and
Delalio's Delalio's slouching a bit, so.
Yeah, I mean that's just the way it is, isn't it? You can't do you can't change your genetics, so.
Can you not?
Give it. Actually, well, I don't want to get into that. Your parents, depending on how fit your parents are, there's microgene expressions that they think can affect your baby. So if you conceive when you're fat, your baby may be more likely to be fat. And if you conceive when you're slightly fitter, your baby may be more likely to be fitter. It's not like Lamarck where you get fit but it's biology. There's like micro things. So yeah. Woo, biology.
Right, so I shouldn't conceive.
You should conceive when you are at your fittest if you want the child to have some positive microgene expression.
Does this mean I can just blame my stature and size on my parents then and just waive all responsibility for?
No, well, that's the thing. It's micro. They're not actually going to make a huge difference. It's just going to be slightly helpful. But anyway, biology there. So yeah, be taller before you conceive. That's the.
So psychology and. Science. That's the theme of the podcast today.
No, we'll do some chemistry in a bit. Ed, do you want to chat about BT Sport?
Oh yeah, this is brilliant. Okay, for all EE customers, all monthly EE customers, not pay as you go, those with a contract, EE are currently offering 6 months of BT Sport free.
Is this EE internet or EE mobile?
Mobile,
okay.
EE mobile. 3G, 4G, whatever, EE customers, after like 2 or 3 texts, are entitled to 6 months free of BT Sport, followed by £5 a month thereafter, which seems like a really, really good deal. And I thought, that sounds awesome. I'll actually be able to watch all the Premiership, and I won't have to stream it through some very dodgy and possibly virus-ridden sites, which in theory is still true. But you can't cast the video you're playing, which from any device you're playing from. So I suppose if you've got an Apple TV or a Kubo or whatever they're called.
Chromecast.
No. I mean things that actual boxes that have all the software inside them.
Oh, okay.
They, I think, should be fine. But from your phone or your tablet, or even, I suppose, your computer screen if you're using Chrome and casting that way, you can't cast the video you're playing. And the other thing is you can only watch live on the device that has your SIM card in.
Oh,
which means...
That's horrible.
It's a really, really nice gesture. I need to say that a lot because
You've
the way I've been going on about it.
Let's not talk about. Remember, this is a private company.
Really pissed off. Really pissed off the fact that if I want to watch live sport, then I've got my phone and the screen is, it's smaller than my palm. It's friggin' tiny, and so the fact that, granted, I have and can watch rugby in something that small. Doing it for 6 games of a weekend is just, glaringly shit. And it would have been nicer to be able to, watch live, say, on my tablet, because I'm still signing in under my same profile, bigger screen, better battery, or be able to cast my frigging TV, which would be even better. There are some workarounds. You can cast your entire phone, but that kind of turns my phone into a portable oven, and I was sure after the first Saturday of the Premiership, after about 3 or 4 hours of rugby, casting my entire phone and charging it because it's an utter sink on the battery, my phone was just about hot enough to cook my supper. So it's
you went
again.
You've gone ham. So no, don't apologise.
Yeah.
Right, this is my problem. Do not apologise for the fact that it is hard for you to view rugby, okay? They've given you a shit deal.
Yeah.
And you should not be happy with it. They've mugged you
I know.
off a bit.
I am really, really annoyed at how bare bones this service is because, as I say, it seems like a nice gesture. They've got Kevin Bacon on the TV being isn't this special? Jose Mourinho, isn't this special? And dancing around looking like a complete moron on British TV. This is great. BT are awesome. EE are wonderful. Here's the service, and then you play it and it's shit.
I think this is we're not going to get sponsored by BT anytime soon, or EE anyway.
I will say,
we were getting
by
so
all
close.
means,
we were so close.
Take advantage of the service because you can still on other devices get the content, the highlights.
I imagine the iPad Sim. If you had an iPad Sim or something, it wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, you could watch on a fairly standard sized screen and it wouldn't be too bad. And granted.
So BT, if you're listening, we're willing to get rid of Ed for free rugby.
Yeah.
If
you want to sponsor, Ed's out the door.
I'd be willing to get on that deal as long as I got BT on my way out. But no, it's
right.
Let's
talk about the Aviva then, and let's talk. Well, Fred wants to talk about his fantasy team, I think, because
that's the only reason we watched the rugby.
Yes,
isn't it, for fantasy?
Absolutely.
Apparently, go on.
So we might want to explain to listeners that we at Linebreak Rugby, we're a big company now. We've set up a fantasy draft on a pretty shitty website, but it's quite fun anyway.
It's quite slow, but it's alright, yeah.
And so there was a draft. Everyone made fun of the fact that King Freddie Burns was the draft at number 1. And as I was going to the pub and couldn't do the draft, I ended up with Freddie Burns. And now who's laughing?
Well, that's the thing. So you drafted Freddie Burns because you were at the pub and it was an auto draft. I came in halfway through the draft to see my first 5 picks, and my first pick was 2CPC, who was the best fly half of the whole weekend.
That's awesome.
But I also auto drafted some Danny Kerr, who got me negative points, and oh my god, just diabolical. Don't. So yeah, so let's talk about Danny Kerr then, Ed. Let's talk about the fact that Harlequins. Absolutely shocking. I mean, they still beat Bristol.
I think Danny Kerr is the most likely player come November. to have lost his spot in England 23. He's had
a lot of shots,
especially with the other scrum halves that are coming through and the ones that are, starting for their teams for Wasps or Sarries. Danny Care has been. I've always tried to stand up for him because I do think he's a genuinely good player, and he is. But he has had.
He's a talented footballer. Rugby, football, he's all-round ball skills, very good.
His all-around game is taking a bit of a dip in form at the moment, and I'm sure it'll come back, because it's had a dip before, and he's come back raring, and he helped win us a Grand Slam and a 3-test tour in Australia. But his form there is still a lot to be desired. It's really unfortunate. So yeah, he was basically the assist on one of Bristol's tries. Which is not great coming from one of the opposition team.
No, really not.
And that was a Tusi-Pisi, actually, wasn't it? His intercept.
No, it was Varndell, I think.
Was it Varndell?
It was Varndell, yeah.
The ball, hovered above the pitch, stationary, for about 30 seconds, and Varndell just picked it up and walked under the post. That's how I saw that play out.
Fantastic.
That's precisely what happened.
Yeah,
his delivery's getting a bit slow. He seemed a bit rattled, is all I think.
He's beating physics.
Yeah,
that's how good he's getting.
But I think his performance, I think, is just I suppose an indictment of Harlequins in general. We've not exactly made great strides. I know we beat Glasgow in pre-season, but that wasn't particularly good, and we beat Bristol, and it was.
I've done an interesting look.
Yeah, go on.
I've done an interesting look at Quins, and you say it's an indictment. They're not playing that well, but Quins don't buy in big player names particularly.
No, it's mostly funneled through the academy.
Yeah, so I've looked at the past 3 years from 2013, 2014, 15, 16. I looked at things, and most of the time it says player promoted from the academy under Harlequins.
Yeah.
And I think it was 3 or 4 seasons in a row. Then there's Jamie Roberts, and there's a couple of
you've got Adam
Yards
Jones, Tim Visser, Marland Yard.
Yeah, you've got a couple more coming in.
The Aussie lock, Horwell.
So you had a couple come in, but looking at it, you had Merrick, you've had Charlie Walker, I think it was. You've got he's on the wing for you now. I've forgotten his name. I've played with him before. Who's your young winger? He's Henry Cheeseman.
Oh yeah,
I used to he's
to play him.
Is that actually someone's name?
Henry Cheeseman, yeah, he's been
got to get him on my team.
He used to play back at my club.
Never underestimate how silly some English names can be.
But he's a good player. He started off in the back row, and they've put him on the wing because he is pretty rapid.
It's clearly a problem of the sum not quite adding up or the total not quite adding up from the sum of its parts. But we do have some absolutely fantastic players, and we have had some brilliant games and have some brilliant form. The issue is our brilliant form comes in 20-minute blocks in the third quarter, and for games and games on end. So it's not to take anything away from Bristol. They've been promoted to the Premiership. They've been the best team in the Championship for a few years. They're back in the Premiership. Good for them. They've done brilliantly. But to be within 2 or 3 points by the final whistle, to be behind for so much of the game to the team who have only just been promoted, and considering we won the Premiership 4 years ago, where we've come since there's a very downward trend to it. And my biggest issue is, especially from last season, we had some really, really good games, and some games we did win by a decent margin, but we kind of played all our rugby in 20, 30 minutes and then kind of challenged the team we're playing as best we could to come beat us. I can remember, I think it was against Cardiff Blues in the European game.
Go on.
I'm so glad he's not here. He'd drag it up for me. But we put, I think, 28, 29 points on them in the first half and didn't concede. And then we won the game by 3 points.
It's the Harlequins way, though.
It's really frustrating to watch.
It's always messy.
It's so bad that about 5 minutes before the end of the game on Saturday, or no, not even that, closer to the end, right up until the end, I genuinely thought we were 3 points behind, not 3 points ahead on the scoreboard. And I don't know how exactly I glossed over that part of it. But I kept on thinking, oh God, we're going to lose, we need to get the ball back, Oh my God, why have we kicked it out? The clock's gone red. Oh, we won. So they have the ability, and I'm sure Conor O'Shea had a lot to do with, dragging us kicking and screaming in that direction. But where we've been, certainly over the last season, and in bigger picture since 2012, it's just a bit damp, a bit soft, a bit.
So if we look at Quins, I mean, they came through and they won that game, and then we compare that to the Leicester Gloucester game,
which was I will say, our game was messy and sloppy and a bit of a mess. And granted, it was raining. Gloucester Leicester to kick off the season was a fantastic game, start to finish.
It looked, I mean, I only saw the highlights, and to be fair, you're only ever going to see good things in the highlights, but it looked fantastic, and it looked like Gloucester were actually playing some rugby, which...
Oh, they were playing all the rugby.
Which previously they haven't done, and I think, was it Tom Marshall they've now got, or is Tom Marshall out in the backs, and 12 Trees looked like he was playing well. Just they looked like they were actually playing some decent rugby. I think it was Tom Marshall. I'm going to quickly look that up. But
and then the way they were playing so well, they made a proper statement in that game. As in, because I think they were 8th last season, maybe 9th.
Yeah,
they didn't do brilliantly
now.
And Leicester coming out looking absolutely ridiculous, like all of their kits had been coloured in with yellow highlighters.
Did look a bit strange, eh?
I can't get away from how bad their kit looks. And I don't get why they went that way. I mean, I know both their home kits have white on it, but the green doesn't exactly clash with, well, that was a forward pass leading to that try.
Well, so Gloucester, this is why I wanted to bring it up. The Gloucester compared to Quins is Gloucester completely threw it away. They imploded.
Oh, yeah.
I switched off at half-time mentally. Like, I was just checking my phone. I wasn't watching the game, but I just stopped checking my phone at half-time thinking, okay... Gloucester have run away with it. Like, they've won this game. Somehow Leicester have come undone, and I wasn't sure how Leicester had lost it because I thought they were in a big rebuild and they were going to come back with Tuilangi and do well.
I mean,
and obviously they've just imploded somehow.
One of the tries they did concede was an intercept. Leicester basically gave the ball again in a similar fashion to how Varndale scored against us. The way Sharples was gifted that ball, and then that. 60 unopposed meters of green grass and a pair of posts.
And you give that to Sharples, and nobody's catching him. It doesn't matter who you are. He's absolutely rapid.
One of the others was a big fumble, possibly by Tuilangi, and then again that just ended up on the wing and all the way down. So it's a lot of it. I mean, that's the thing. Okay, watching through the highlights, you in fact no, because it's the thing. I watched the game, and Gloucester definitely appeared to be the better team. Granted, they benefited a lot from a few lucky moments, but they definitely seemed like the better team. And then it all just fell apart for them, and they started conceding just really easily. Oh, and Kresic got a yellow card, which, as I understand it, is basically par for the course at this point.
Well, this is the thing. This is another thing. Like, we have so many options in the back row, and I'm calling the back row as back row now because there's so much discussion about 7s and 8s and 6s, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just calling. We have so many options in the back row, and the fact that, and I know you can't base him on one game because he plays really well, but the fact that he is such a yellow card magnet, the fact that refs just look at him and go, that's a penalty.
He's a bit of a liability now.
He's too much of a liability. He's a great player and people rate him so highly, but when the key aspect of his game is turnover ball and it's so intertwined with getting a yellow card, we need to look at something else. We need to look at a big ball carrier and then maybe have a subset of stealing the ball.
I do kind of want to make a little play a little devil's advocate or put in a bit of a counter argument and just respond with the words Dylan and Hartley.
So I'm not actually a massive Hartley fan. I think quite a lot of people are.
He's completely won me over, I think.
He's won you over? See, I think Jamie George is just so much better.
I think the biggest thing is just that Hartley, I've spent a lot of my time defending him and then a lot of my time thinking, I've spent all this time defending you, what the hell are you doing, you pillock? But certainly over the last, especially since he got given England's captaincy.
I don't think his attitude is wrong. I don't think he's bad, and I don't think his attitude's wrong. But I just think Jamie George is better. I think when it comes down to it, I want Jamie George on the pitch. Now, if it means he plays 60 and then Hartley plays 20, or something like that, that's fine, because Hartley can still play a lot of good rugby. But to me, Jamie George is a better player. Fred, are you still there?
Of course, I'm still there.
He's
but
still here.
It's pretty difficult to talk.
When Ed's just
yeah.
Ed gets on a chat about England and Quins. We could be here for years.
Yeah.
You've got to jump in and just tell him.
Decades, really.
Yeah.
Just tell him to shut up.
So,
it's fine.
And then of course I forgot what I wanted to say. Yeah, Hartley. Hartley's good. Jamie George's better. But Hartley's the captain. So what you can do is you can start Hartley. And put in Jamie George much earlier than you normally would put in
a half time, 50 minutes.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah, start of the second half.
Yeah, so I mean that's the option that Eddie Jones has, and I think Jamie George isn't really so. I think Eddie Jones likes niggle, as far as I can tell, and Jamie George is kind of a nice guy. He's not really a niggle guy. He can put his body about, but he's not like get in your face and yell at them like a Toje is. He's kind of just plays his game.
No,
he does have a very happy look.
He's very happy. So I went to the Prem final, Exeter Sarries, Exeter lost example, but then Jamie George came out on the stage outside and he was giving it the big uns to the crowd, and he was having a good laugh and a joke, and he was just happy. And as an Exeter fan, even standing in the crowd there, I was like, this dude's just cool. Like, fair play.
He's been excellent for the last 2 seasons, but he's still very young, so it doesn't.
25, 26?
Nah, he's younger than that.
I don't know. I think he's around that age.
But he's still 25.
He is 25, yeah.
So it doesn't. Yeah, but he's a front rower.
Yeah.
You've got to add. You've got to. If you were a back row, you'd say, okay, he's 22.
He's got a little bit of time, yeah.
Yeah. So he's got. I think he can still get better, because even at Saracens, he's been at least alternating with Brits, if not being on the bench quite a lot.
Yeah.
So
that's because Brits is a lot fitter, to be fair. So Jamie George adds quite a lot of bulk and good scrummaging.
George is absolutely huge, but
he looks like he's put away a few pies in his time.
What's he called? He's called Girth or something, isn't he? Or Chunk?
Maybe.
There was a joke on the England YouTube channel.
I'm sure Chunk is someone else. Someone he. It might be Chunk, but I thought that was one of our older front rowers from a few years back.
Something obscene and hilarious.
But look at him play. He's faster than most of the forwards.
Yeah.
I think about the tries he set up down in Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
That little break and chip.
I know he just got onto the pitch, but that's ridiculous. Have you ever seen a man this big?
Or that happy?
Like that.
That's ridiculous.
Dane Coles. But that's about it.
Dane Coles is nowhere near as big as Jamie
true.
George.
Dane Coles
is
he's lean. He's quite lean,
and he's another level as well. But But Jamie George is probably the fattest international.
Probably.
I tell you what,
there's a lot under that though.
On a slight tangent, and Billy Vunipola has trimmed down a lot, and is still a wrecking ball.
He still looks like he's a bit fat. It's incredible.
No, he does not.
He does.
Muscled. And
he's a machine. I mean, it was a long time ago. There was an article from with Alex Good, and he was saying that Billy Vunipola would throw 60 kg dumbbells like it was a bag of crisp. I didn't know that existed.
Classic. That's that's just a big ass man who just doesn't care. He's so coming from a non-Wasps fan to a Wasps fan. Do you regret selling him at any point?
Well, we didn't really have a choice. He had to go and be with his brother, otherwise his mum wouldn't come to the games.
Yeah, and you bought in Nathan Hughes in the same year, by the way.
Exactly. So we.
So you did replace him.
Yeah, it's not...
To me though, I'd rather have a Billy, but Nathan Hughes is a reasonable replacement.
Yeah,
and you've got Ashley Johnson, so maybe it's been fine. I don't know. I was just looking. I'm looking at transfers at the moment, and I just saw that. I thought it was quite interesting.
They're really the two different kind of number 8s that you can have. You either have the just ball carrying but ridiculous ball carrying Vunipola, or you have the slightly more skilled Hughes.
I'd say so. To me,
Parise.
Hughes is a So I'm not Hughes' biggest fan, mainly because he seems to be not a one-hit wonder, but as in like he'll make a big hit and then he'll be reasonably anonymous and then suddenly he'll make another big hit. But they'll be so far apart that I'm kind of like, was he doing enough in the meantime to justify himself being on the pitch?
Maybe. Well, check him out, because he, it's for example, that's a different story. But you always hear or read the tackle stats. Yeah. But you don't. Obviously, it doesn't tell you how many times the 6 or the 7 has been going, sprinting all across the pitch to possibly make a try-saving tackle, and made it because the winger actually made the tackle.
Yeah, it's true.
So you don't get obviously the coaches have way more stats because they've got the distance, and then they look individual players, how well they've moved around the pitch,
how far they've been running, and all of that telemetry and stuff.
And even the distance. If you've run 8Ks and someone else has run 7, but he's probably run a lot, much smarter lines. And he could be a much.
That's what I tell my coach. It's like you're walking, so it's just a slow drift. I'm softening. It's a slow drift. We'll push him into touch.
Because sometimes it might just be because I've just come off pre-season and I'm exhausted after 15 minutes of rugby. As in absolutely exhausted.
I'm fuming.
Because you've not played 15 minutes of rugby.
Oh my god! I made it 10 minutes before the guy decided to twist my ankle. Anyway. It's all strapped up. So I'm fuming about that anyway.
Poor little man.
Poor little man, eh? So what's our next? Oh, Wasps Exeter. So this was another depressing
just
moment
very briefly, I need someone to a wider audience to address the absolutely filthy step that Spencer put in to score his try for Sarries.
Oh yeah. It was lovely, wasn't it? That was he put in a double step, didn't he? He looked to go wide and then cut back in and did the fullback, and then he stopped dead to skip the 13, went again and stopped dead to do Bentillo. So
and that was all after a snipe off a ruck.
Yeah.
So to me, I think out of obviously it's one game, but to me Spencer outplayed Robson this weekend, and Fred won't like that because Fred's like, he ran a good try.
They weren't playing in the same game. What are you talking about?
No, I know, but I didn't think Robson had a good game. I know it's obviously you're playing different teams, but I don't think Robson.
Well, it didn't.
He was okay, but he wasn't. I don't know.
To be fair,
he ran good supporting lines. He's really good support line runner as a 9, and that's quite useful as a really rapid 9.
He scored a try, didn't he?
Yeah, because he ran a good supporting line off Wade.
Oh well, fair enough.
And he's good at that. That's what he's really good at, and he is good at making breaks as well. But there were certain times when he made one really bad kick. But everyone was making bad kicks that game, to be honest with you.
It's alright. I think he'll improve against different opposition.
Oh yeah, of course. It's he's playing against Chudley and Slade. Obviously, the kicking game, he couldn't keep up, could he?
That's really not what I said.
Yeah, I know. I'm twisting your words. I was disappointed that Exeter lost, but as I've watched lots of previous stuff, and Baxter and Steno and everyone's like bigger picture stuff, we got a losing bonus point from a top 4 team
away from home. So we'll walk away from that and we'll do it again. And it's another positive first game of the season, and there is clearly a statement of intent from the tank engine himself scoring the opening try of that match
after 3 minutes.
Really 3 minutes in.
Absolutely ridiculous.
He just scores tries, and I was desperate to draft him in round 1, and I missed the draft. I was so annoyed. I was like, the tank engine Waldrum is mine because he just scores tries for fun. It doesn't matter how old he is, doesn't matter how fat he is, he still tops the charts in try scoring, and I think he's the top of the BT hit thing.
Has he?
As well?
How many is it? I'm sure, was it last season or the season before that he was top try scorer? Or was it both?
Both. I think it's 2 or 3 seasons running now.
Oh wow! I think it's phenomenal. I think I was never convinced by him while he was playing for England back in. Granted, I think he only got a couple of caps back in 2012.
I think he got more than that.
But that's as much as I can remember. But I was never convinced by him. But seeing him play for Exeter is amazing.
And this is part of why I'm doing this transfer article. When Exeter signed him, people thought, he's kind of over the hill. He's done his time. He's had his good years.
Yeah.
And then he's had
Clearly
a bit of rejuvenation, to be honest. Yeah, he's had a massive rejuvenation. And I think Salvi's had that as well, coming from Leicester. I think people thought Salvi was not on the way out, but kind of past his best years, but Salvi had a really good game.
I didn't really know Salvi. I thought he was amazing.
I thought I was looking at it and I thought Salvi was one of the better players on that pitch, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was probably the best back row that day.
Yeah, that was good competition from the back row.
Yeah, there was. I mean, no, the best back row on that pitch was Joe Launchbury, but that's a different story.
Launchbury got put down by Chudley. There was a massive hit by Chudley on Launchbury. I was so surprised watching that. I was like, what is Chudley doing? And then I watched Devoto get run over by someone. I was just like, if Chudley's putting in hits, Devoto needs to pull his finger out a bit. But, that's just the way it is. So that was Wasps Exeter, and we're not actually going to talk about the result in any way, shape or form.
I don't even remember what happened.
You will go.
Oh, wait, I do.
Was it 2 points in it?
Go with that.
It was
close, and it was annoying.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that close. It was 5 points in the end because they got a penalty at the end, which was a bullshit penalty, but made no difference.
Yeah, we can keep arguing about that.
Gopeth is just something else, though, isn't he?
Gopeth's try, holy fuck! That boy, he did a Christian Wade. Did you see it?
He did a proper winger move. He draws in, then goes back out again.
Dropped his shoulder like in Gwenye against Habana, and then just went on the outside, and Woodburn just looked like an idiot.
Well, to be fair, and that's what actually Austin Healey said. So as much as we make fun of him at the start, he's actually a really good pundit, which is really difficult to say.
Oh, he's an annoying human being, but he is very good at analysing.
He knows what he's
rugby.
talking about most
Absolutely. And he was saying that basically he should have Wood something, your winger.
Woodburn should have just committed to the corner flag.
Yeah,
he should have just gone to the corner
that's
flag.
not his fault. I mean, he should have had chat coming from the inside saying, "I've got the inside covered," because there was someone.
It's Dave Lewis, maybe, or Chudley. It might have been Lewis or Chudley.
Well,
I'm not sure.
There was definitely a player, or maybe even two, on the inside, and they didn't tell him to go on the outside. And at that point, you need to tell your winger, cover that, because it's just the reflex. If it's 1-on-1 with that much distance, you've got to get ready for a potential step inside. But it was the dummy inside was so believable.
It was 100% great. Mind games from Gopeth, he dominated that moment, and it was brilliant to watch. I mean, the crowd went crazy for it. Don't get me wrong, and the commentators looked at it, but
because he would have scored that in touch rugby. That's how good it was.
I'm pretty sure I've seen Shane Williams score the exact same try.
And people talk about it.
Yeah, but Shane Williams is in the largest 10 in the Premiership.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Good's no longer playing, is he?
Yeah. Well, I say that, but Gopeth is not that big, is he? He's a big lad,
he's
but
he's
not
the
huge.
biggest, I think, isn't he?
He's broad, but he's not very tall.
There's quite a lot of skinny 10s nowadays,
Clearly, that's the fashion.
Well, Wikipedia says
Slade,
88 kgs.
brothers.
I don't believe that for a second. I'm sure he's got to be more than that.
I think he's a bit heavier than 88, but
How tall is he?
178. So he's not very tall.
Yeah, but he's broad. But not. Okay, final thing. I mentioned this early on before we started.
Go ahead.
What I think the penultimate try that Wasps score is set up by some very, very broken play before ball shipping out to the right wing and giving it to Wade. And I've seen Wade run before. Wade passes it into Robson, I think.
Rather than go round him.
But I just kind of think it looks to me almost as though Wade has lost a yard or two in pace. I've seen him play. I'm sure he could have gassed anyone from that position.
Well, yes, but I don't agree. So he got in a position where he could have gassed the winger, and he heard a call from the inside. So he just made the right decision to slow down and give the ball, because that's 100% try instead of being a 50% try.
So there's two things that you've got to take into mind. One, Wade is a very smart rugby player. So he's gone and he's seen that the defender is Slade. Now Slade's not slow, and Slade is very good at shutting down the angle in the right way where he might make that tackle.
Okay.
So in Wade's mind, it's easier to give it to Robson. Whether or not he can gas Slade, he probably could have, but it's the safer bet, and he made the right call.
I highly doubt that he checked who was the player.
No,
I think
I
he saw a
guarantee
white
he
shirt.
he had a long but he had a long time to look at those orange boots and see it was Slade. He knew it wasn't. Put it this way, he knew it wasn't a forward. He knew it was.
Of course.
He knew it was the fullback, and it wasn't. He wasn't running at a 7 or a prop.
No,
so
that's
more my point.
I keep watching this over. It looks like he has less space. It looks like there is less distance between Wade and the line parallel to Slade and Slade and the touch line. And it just, I don't know, maybe it is just the difference between a 90% try and a 100% try. But it looks like he doesn't quite reach his peak and then just decides not to. I don't know. It just...
I
and
think
also,
the try was scored
he
and he wasn't
started.
that bothered, eh?
That was a stop-start as well, because if I remember correctly, Robson switched to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, gave it to, I can't remember who that was, who gave it to Daly, who gave it to Wade.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, somebody came in really
Gaskell.
late, Robson gave him the pass, and they made it, they created a 3-on-2 in a small area.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, that was actually really, really good, simple rugby.
Well, I thought Daly.
It looked like
is very good at
Cipriani that
executing
it's Cipriani that gets the ball to.
Is it Cipriani? So he
I
did
think it
something
is.
good in this game.
He did a good. Yeah.
Sips did not have a good game.
It wasn't the best, was it?
No, I don't think he was. He
Sips
was
did not have
any
a
good
good.
in
As
that
soon
game.
as soon as they put him, as soon as they put Gopeth at first receiver in the second half, Wasps actually started playing well. Whereas when Cipriani was at first receiver, Wasps were not playing at all.
Well, he was just kicking it.
He just kicked. Yeah, he put it on his left boot all the time. And if you feed Dolman and Woodburn and Shaw, then you're in for a bad time, really.
Well, that's exactly what happened when Bassett literally gave
Oh my
Exeter
God.
the ball. He had a bit of a
That was
Danny Cameron.
hilarious. I've got him in my fantasy team as well because it auto draft Bassett.
That makes
And I
it
was
even
like-
funnier.
And I was just like, what are you doing? Because even I didn't want you to do that. And I'm an Exeter fan. No,
Yeah.
it's just diabolical, some of that. Anyway, we need to move on from the Aviva Prem.
Yeah.
and admit
What
that
about?
there are other tournaments?
There are. There's one going on in Little England and North England and parts of Ireland.
So you guys haven't watched much
and
Pro 12.
southeastern France.
I've watched a bit of the Pro 12.
I've
I'm going to
caught
talk
none of
mainly
it.
about the Ospreys because that was the one that interested me, just due to Sam Parry and Sam Davies.
And who are they? Just so we know.
Rugby
Well,
players.
Yeah, rugby players. No, it's a hooker and the kicker.
Oh, is it
for
a
the
hooker?
Ospreys. He's a hooker. No, he scored a hat trick for me on Fantasy Rugby, and he had a very good game. To be fair, he was a couple of mauls and stuff, but he played very well. But the interesting thing for me is that Sam Davies kicking, and obviously I can't find anywhere if Bigger's injured. I mean, I don't know if I'm Googling wrong or something, but maybe they just rested him because it was the easy game. But the fact that Sam Davies was kicking really, really well, is quite promising signs. The Ospreys have a lot of options now, to be honest.
Who were they playing?
Was it Treviso? They were playing one of the easier games. I think it was Treviso.
Right, but
No,
that's
I
the
watched
second.
this
That's the second round at home.
Was it versus Treviso or was it versus? No, that wasn't Treviso. It was another easy game because I remember picking them. Who's the other easy team? I've forgotten their names.
Zebra.
Christ. Zebra, it might have been. Let's have a look.
Grenoble.
That sounds right, actually.
Don't get there.
Live updates. Yeah, that was it. So they were playing Zebra. So who was playing? Anyway, it might have been Ulster playing Treviso, or someone. I just remember picking a lot of Ulster players and a lot of Ospreys players in my fantasy team because I assumed they were playing the easy games. But they played well. And we're going to move on from the Pro 12 because we're not really that good at it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But we are. I am following it. I just didn't have time this weekend because I was playing and watching the Aviva, and I think that's going to be most weekends actually, which is going to be a bit of a trouble.
Oh, but that took you a whole of 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, don't. Yeah. Anyway, talk about Gion Aplon and South Africa.
Yeah,
Fred.
that's the only bit I wanted to talk about in the top 14 right
top
now.
14
well, not the only thing, but what's going on right now is Toulon has lost 2 games, which is hilarious. They're playing Toulouse next week, And apparently the results will change if will be the decision whether or not they keep their coach, which I think is retarded. 4 games to choose whether or not a coach is good enough. It just seems a bit football to me.
That's very football. That's the definition of what football managers have to endure.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think you can change a mindset under those conditions. So if you are already in a bad mindset and then someone goes, you now have more pressure, a mindset doesn't change. That's impossible.
And your new coach comes in. He's got to make a choice. Do I keep the systems that have been just put in place with the other guy that haven't worked yet, or at all? Or do I start my own thing without having a pre-season or without having more than a week with scholars players? I think it just seems like a silly thing to do. But that's Toulon for you, trying to be Chelsea.
Well, yeah, and you are right to a point. Toulon are trying to change the way that rugby is viewed on the mass market by making it more like football and the Premier League. So it's a double-edged sword, really, because it'll gain a lot of exposure, but it'll also might destroy some of the traditions that we actually have.
And even in Toulon, where they have some, they do have some.
They have deep-set religion,
some tradition,
rugby, don't they? Because the atmosphere is meant to be really, really good.
Well, that's what they keep saying.
Yeah, they keep telling us anyway. So talk about Aplon and.
But yeah,
Grenoble.
So that's
is it Grenoble?
Grenoble. In French, Grenoble.
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 Go on, talk to us about them, how bad they're doing. I'm not great at the French.
Clearly. So that's the bottom of the table. That's Toulon, and Grenoble right now is the worst team in the top 14, which is a bit surprising because last year they were quite good and entertaining.
With a one-man army.
And so right now they got smashed by Stade Francais in the first games, and now they've lost the next one. I can't remember who against. And this weekend they lost to Lyon, who's the promoted team, probably one of the worst teams in the top 14. So they've lost to them by quite a margin. And in those 3 games, 3 losses, Joe Aplon has managed 4 tries, including the best 2 since the start of the competition. So right now with South Africa's dire state.
Combrink's injured.
And Combrink's injured.
Combrink's injured.
Why not?
Habana's a bit old.
Well, Habana is a safe choice.
Who else? Oh, Hendricks has got a heart condition.
Apparently,
yeah. We only just recently found that out.
J.P. Peterson's in Leicester.
Peterson's in Leicester.
So why not?
They've just got a big
Yeah. Why not call back? So right now they've got 2 wingers. They've got Mvovo and Habana.
Well, they've got
2 quality
Peterson
wingers.
plays for the Cheetahs, but I don't think they want to call him up particularly. And I think if Aplon's playing this well,
why not
put him in?
Why not call Aplon back? He can play fullback because he's playing fullback for Grenoble. He's not playing wing.
That's interesting.
And
who was playing fullback the last couple of games for South Africa? Was it Larue?
Yeah.
Yes.
Larue has had a really bad season though, and he's moving. Isn't he off to Wasps?
He's off to Wasps in February, I think.
Yeah.
Why so late in the season?
His current contract, I'm guessing. Or he must be. So it's simple. He must be international season right now. / Currie Cup.
Well, he'll be there for when the Six Nations is. I think. That's the point, isn't it? As long as he's covering when the Six Nations gap is, it's worth it for Wasps.
Yeah.
Wasps aren't likely to lose too many players, though. Certainly not that many where
no, but they'll probably
Willie
lose
Larue
Cipriani. They won't lose Gopeth.
I don't know if they will lose Cipriani based on the way he's playing.
No, but that's 1 game in September.
Yeah, but he's also too
February.
old, and I don't think Eddie Jones wants him.
Well, whether or not he's going,
he's a possibility.
He's a possibility. They might lose Eastman, but they won't lose Beale, and they're definitely going to lose
Slade's higher
Daly.
up the list than Cipriani.
Well, you've started the war, haven't you? But you're right. You're spot on.
And Daly's definitely gone to is going to be in the England squad unless he gets
he
injured.
better be.
But,
Daly
Wasps,
deserves it.
For Wasps, 100% they won't have Daly in February and March.
So this is the interesting thing: Slade versus Daly, or is it Slade versus Ford? Because
there's also the thing that
Or
if Farrell's
Daly
got a
versus
bad
Ford.
Farrell
Yeah,
has
go
a
on.
bad back. How long is he going to be out for?
Yeah.
And what does that mean
what was
to
it?
our
Nero
prospects at 10
posted
and
that he
12?
thought it was worse than they previously. I can't find any news on it. Again, the
'cause-
news outlets don't seem to be.
Clearly, Farrell's your 12 now, and he's proven to me. He's proven that he's the best 12 in England.
He's the okay. So he. It's interesting because he is, but only when he has a very creative 10. So if he was playing.
With Slade inside him, that would, yeah.
It would still work with Slade, but I don't know if it would work with.
It's what I want to see, to be honest. I want to see Slade play at 10 for England, just because. Well, at least for a few more stints at Exeter, just because I think his distribution, his creativity, and his, I suppose, vision on the pitch. I think if Ford continues to wobble, I think Ford's place at 10 for England. We should be looking elsewhere, and Slade I don't think would be a bad option.
Okay. I mean, I agree with that. I quite like Slade at 10, and obviously Baxter's backed him a little bit
Although-
by starting him.
And
That said-
Slade's going to struggle to get into the 13 shirt even more because you've got both JJ and Daly.
Joseph and Daly, yeah. Although, and who brought this up? I mean, it might have been you, Fred, that said it, but Daly runs the same line
that's
every
me.
single time.
No,
Ed
not
said
not
it.
the same line. I recognise his. I
the
recognise
style.
how he runs. Yeah, it's every time he's got the ball, no matter where he is on the pitch, I'm like, that's Daly, and it's I don't know what it is. It's just
It might be the
style of
white
running.
sleeves.
It
No,
works.
it's not that. It's like the pattern or the movement.
No,
or
he
the,
does have a movement. It works really well, but I think if he comes up against, I mean, let's say he plays and starts 10 tests for England.
Yeah.
I think as soon as he's had those 10 tests, opposition centres are going to go, well, that's the way he plays, and then his way of playing. And I think it's happened to Joseph a little bit as well.
Joseph
where
got
the
fully
way he
caught out.
plays is kind of being shut down.
Joseph, you can recognise from the way he runs from really far away.
And it
There's
is being
something about
shut
him.
down. The way the style of how he breaks the tackle and how he gets round people, it's been shut down, because when he first came on the scene, obviously he's new and he's doing it all the time. And I think what made a good centre, and you look at Nonu, you look at Brian O'Driscoll, Conrad Smith, they style can change depending on the opposition. So Nonu could put a kick in, he could drop his shoulder and dance round people,
or he'll charge through them.
or he'll absolutely charge through them. Whereas Daly and Joseph charging through them, not so much. Running round them, yes. Daly can kick. Joseph's not a bad kicker, but he's not that good. So I think they're not complete centres, and I think they will be found out after a couple of test matches.
Again, it all depends. The last thing I was going to mention about Ford is that even if he is having not the best game, that he's got Farrell behind him, and the fact that the two of them have played together since age grade, it helps, I think, both of their games. And so I do think that if one or both of them isn't there, we will be lacking that connection, which I think has been a huge asset for us, certainly this year. That's worth mentioning.
That's true.
Well, we've gone
back to England. haven't
Yeah,
we?
exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to
We've
say
just
we've
gone back
managed
to
to
England.
talk for 20 minutes about England when we've done a
Let's go back to
podcast that
England.
didn't include
We've
any
got to move on
internationals.
to the Rugby Championship.
So yeah,
and
so
then I've got to
Well,
get in a
that's why
mention of
we went on to Hendricks and Gian Aplon.
because
That was the
I was
point.
about to
Yeah.
mention Stuart Lancaster and just divert the whole thing again.
no,
but I won't.
No, let's ignore Lancaster because he's gone to Leinster, and who
We
cares
can-
about Leinster?
Yeah,
Terrible club.
I think we should have an entire podcast with Harble on Lancaster.
Oh yeah, by the way, for new subscribers, me saying Leinster's a terrible club is literally just a dig at Harble. That's, I mean, they're still a shit club, don't get me wrong, but
If he were here, he could defend it, but he's not, so he can't. So
Yeah.
they're shit.
We don't hate the Irish.
No, we hate the Welsh.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
I hate the Welsh.
No, it's literally just because Ed gets told he hates the Welsh every single time we bring them up. Every single time we mention them, Ed gets told he hates the Welsh.
So how are Australia going to do this weekend?
Australia are going to absolutely implode. Quade Cooper is not the saving grace. Checker is an absolute mess, and Stephen Moore doesn't even get spoken to by the referees.
That means Australia are playing South Africa. Both teams have had a bit of an implosion. Oh,
South Africa. Oh, I had a rant about Faf de Klerk.
That's
obviously
a shame.
up on the channel.
this
But,
is a really minor
yeah.
thing. I kind of
Go
wish
on.
Argentina were playing Australia or were playing Australia next, because I think they could have done with the confidence boost after playing South Africa.
Well,
But
they've
instead
won.
they're
They
gonna
beat
get-
them.
They've beaten
No.
them.
But I think they needed to like get. I mean, I know there's a 2-week break rather than a 1-week break, but I think if they'd gone on to play Australia, they would have like built up some steam and gone ahead. Whereas
That's
they're playing
probably
New
true.
Zealand, and I think they might get steamrolled.
Yeah.
So
no,
it's-
I mean,
and
they
I-
will
I-
get steamrolled.
I don't
That's-
want it to knock their confidence, but I
that's-
suspect it might.
It's possible, but then if usually they do, Argentina does quite well against New Zealand, I think. And so if they do that, if they survive, they're going to lose both games. I mean, it's a
As long
almost
as
a given.
they don't have too much time spent in the bin, I reckon they
Yeah.
can hold up all right.
No, you're right. That's going to be a big factor. Is how much
Oh, just
time they
keep them
spend in
out
the
of
bin.
bin.
But yeah, so Australia, South Africa. I'm gonna go and say that Australia's gonna win that just to piss everyone off, and they're gonna win by 2 points.
You
3
think
points, they're
Australia,
gonna win
you
by
think
3.
Australia's going to win?
I think Australia's gonna win 24-22.
I think, and this is obviously, I watched every single game of Super Rugby, and I watched it all. The Australian teams, not a single one of them had any interesting backline moves. Not a single one of them had a threat in the backs. Basically, every single one. Brumbies, Waratahs. In fact, no, the best attackers was Reece Hodge for the Rebels.
They're going to bore South Africa to death.
They're going
and
to
then
bore them to death. Yeah, if they're
sneak
going to
over their
win,
corpse.
they're going to bore them with mauls, and you can't out-maul South Africa, so I'm not really sure what Australia's game plan is going to be.
They're going to win boring like England used to win boring.
Yeah,
I
but they
think-
haven't even got a percentage kicker. I think Australia are fucked. I really do.
Final score 19-16 to Australia.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll see.
I think
We've managed to convince you there that Australia.
Yeah.
will
I mean,
win.
maybe
Yeah.
Cooper is the only saving hope, but I don't think he is.
No, the only saving hope is Matt Tamua.
Long term Tamur, but he's moved to France. So
What
No,
a
he's going
dick.
to England, not France.
where's he moved to?
Leicester.
Has he been bought?
I
Oh,
think
okay, I
so.
thought he'd gone to France.
No.
When's that
Okay.
happening then?
Probably February again.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Probably.
Score
I didn't know-
predictions
I didn't know he'd
for
gone to Leicester. Okay.
New Zealand,
I knew he'd moved.
Argentina? 30-40 point difference or
Yeah,
less?
20 point difference, I think. 20 point difference.
Well, it's-
Because Argentina.
It's in New Zealand, right? So 35-15.
Yeah, it's at Waikato
Yeah.
Stadium. Wherever that
Cordero
is.
will
With
get a try or something.
Being 20-15 at the 70th minute.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
two
about
two
right.
They're
tries
playing
to
in a-
finish it in the
Yeah,
last
I
10.
tell you, and
Playing
the
Hamilton.
commentators to go, well, within that time period, Australia or Argentina did really well, and they were within touch still.
Yeah.
It really winds me up when they say that, because it's like the game is 80 minutes long. New Zealand play for 80 minutes, they win in 80 minutes, and that's
Yeah.
the way the game's played.
I thought the games were 10 minutes long.
Oh,
If that were the
no.
case,
if it was 70
imagine-
minutes long, then Argentina would have won, guys.
If the game were 10 minutes long, then just think how many more victories Italy would have had. Or Scotland, you know?
Scotland.
I
my
seriously.
God. Oh,
have
you've
have
reminded me of
any
Scotland.
idea how many times Scotland have scored the first try, either through an intercept or blind luck against like top 3 teams? It's incredible.
Well, when we went to the Murrayfield to watch England-Scotland,
Yeah.
Scotland were constantly on our line and
Yeah.
dropping the ball.
And,
Oh,
and
that's classic Scotland, though,
yeah,
isn't it?
and I'd say the Calcutta Cup would never have had a winner ever.
Oh dear.
Oh, constantly.
You've reminded me though. Hogg had quite a good game at the weekend, and not
Is
only
he
that,
Glasgow
but
or Edinburgh?
his mic'd up Glasgow. His mic'd up thing on Sky Sports is also a decent listen. Like, it's not amazingly funny, but it's a good listen. So yeah.
Right, should we wrap that up?
Right, let's wrap this up. This has been Linebreak Rugby. This has been the Monday podcast. We've recorded it on a Monday. I don't know whether it'll come out today. Probably not.
Hope you will have a happy Wednesday.
Have a yeah. Hope Thursday's treating you well.
Oh God, gotta go to training now.
Yeah. Oh, training on. Yeah. To be fair, there's 2 days a week. Yeah, I've got training now with my bad foot.
Go
so
swimming.
Yeah, I've been Sav, your host. It's been Fred. Say something in French.
No.
Okay.
Grenoble.
That was no. Say something in English, Ed.
Bonjour.
There you go.
Oh,
Um,
Russian.
Ah! What's he saying?
so yeah, the outro music should be playing at this point in time, and if it's
Awesome.
not, something wrong's happened.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Do, 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 do.
This was. Oh, we kept it under an hour. That's a bonus.